we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Okay, thanks everyone for listening. This is kind of an emergency episode, I guess. This is about Twitter purging all these accounts. It's like literally the sitting president of the United States has been purged off Twitter and other platforms, and right now we see 100,000s of accounts dropping, and it is really wild. And so we decided we had to make a show about this. I know some of you might be partisan and you don't care too much and you hate certain people, certain political parties so much, but censorship is censorship, and we're going to talk about it. And we are not partisan. So, thanks everyone for listening, and share it around, please.
Yeah, there's other topics as well that we're going to be discussing. We're going to be discussing while all of this is happening in the U.S., there's been military drills that are happening in the Philippines, and also the U.S. flew a B-52 bomber over Iran. There's a lot of things going on right now Philippines that people also aren't just paying attention to. And I'm hearing things like basically every day now about potential war. Let's see. Earlier this week, I had a source tell me that we were potentially going to war with Iran within the next 48 hours. And this is a source that works in the State Department, and I've used previously before. They're not a joke. They know what the fuck they're talking about. And they basically told me that we could be going to war within the next 48 hours. It says that NATO is basically attacking Trump for refusing to give the military power over to Biden during a situation where Iran it could cause war. So there's a lot going on right now. And as far as the drills go, the drills are in the Philippines. And if you've been paying attention for the past couple of months, in the Philippines, we have had a tussle between China, the Philippines, and the U.S. And what's going on right now is that the U.S. just ran a drill in the Philippines kind of to smite China. And we don't know where things are going with China. Things have gone downhill very, very fast in the past couple months. In August, September, the U.S. Tried to make a deal with Taiwan, and that pissed off China. And China actually put out a memo saying prepare for war to their citizens. Um, so we don't know where things are going with China. That's another big serious situation. Um, and yeah, it's been a crazy week.
Okay, well, first things first. It happened. Okay, so we had on the 6th we had a big event in Washington, right?
Right. Now, the day before that, actually, there was a supposed threat from Iran, which I thought was very interesting because that came within the 48-hour window of where I was basically warned that we could be going to war with Iran. Um, and yeah, like it's been fucking crazy, man. Like the warning that was put out was on was broadcasted over the airways of a airline, and it basically said that they were going to fly planes into the Capitol, and it was kind of interesting because airway that never happened. But what did happen was that all of a sudden there was a raid of the Capitol from Trump supporters. So I mean, I'm not saying that's connected or anything. I'm just saying in general, it's just interesting that that's how that kind of turned out.
Yeah, and then today, the sitting president of the United States lost his Twitter account. What do you think of that? Because, whether you like him or not. Wait, did I just lose it? Give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, no, like I said, today, so the sitting president of the United States lost his Twitter account, right? And it is one of the platforms he uses most. Now, whether you like him or not, this is a clear message from big tech to the political establishment, isn't it? It literally says, like, yeah, we run this now. We decide what we do. I mean, technically, it's a company from Silicon Valley, from California, and meaning the president has control over that eventually, executive powers, and there is a whole law system behind that. And technically, like, if I don't know how it went in the past, but if the president would do that, it would be like a raids, wouldn't there be? Like raids into Twitter buildings by now. I mean, I'm not saying I'm supporting any raids in Twitter buildings, but I'm just saying, like, isn't that supposed to be like the power structure behind it? Or?
Yeah. As far as social media goes, I mean, the big social media companies can do whatever the fuck they want. But that's the scary thing, is that, you know, it opens a door, and we've already opened the door to censorship. But, you know, now that door has opened even further by banning Trump and banning a whole bunch of other accounts that were associated with Trump. Like, they didn't just ban Trump; they went after, like, all the accounts that were associated with him. Like, it was crazy, man. Like, seeing how many people got suspended and banned. I mean, again, like, censorship is censorship. I don't care if you don't like Trump or do like Trump. I mean, like, I personally don't like Trump, but I'll still fight to death for him to have a right to say whatever the fuck he wants because of freedom of speech. And some people might not like that, but that's how I view things. It's if you open that door to censorship, right, you're opening a door for more problems in the future. For who knows who, you know, like it's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, now that they would state that they're doing it because there was like a threat of violence and these things. Now, I have only seen that the president said, like, go home, people, and stuff. Like, he respects the protesters, but go home. And
well, no, he did. Okay, so I can see that he did encourage, essentially encourage the riots. Not saying that he said go riot, but he did encourage them to go to the Capitol.
And because they claim that the elections are rigged, right? That's what the claim was.
Right. Well, he said he did encourage them to go to the Capitol, and it was during a rally. I don't remember where specifically, but during a rally, he said for them to meet him at the Capitol, and guess what? He wasn't at the Capitol. And here's the thing that a lot of people need to realize is that that whole thing, there's so much information that's missing. Because first off, the police, you can see in the video, they let them go through, right? Second, okay, somebody let them in the Capitol building. Like, the Capitol building is locked. You know, like, somebody unlocked that door. And there's actually an investigation ongoing now to see if there are white supremacists in the Capitol Police. Because somebody thinks, or the Democrats think that everything that happened was allowed to happen the other day, and I would agree because they let them go through the police barrier. There was talks that somebody flashed a badge to open the gates and to get through, and everybody pushed through. But it doesn't look like that. It looks more so like they let them go. They let them go through, and that's very interesting. If that's the case, and it looks to be the case, so whatever kind of
good planning behind it, or you think like, how do you feel about that?
So, like, whatever transpired, I just wanted to say real quick, whatever transpired the other day, including all the people who were killed, there's going to be people held accountable and people responsible for those deaths. Because somebody let everybody through, or multiple cops let people through. I have no idea, it's speculation, but from what I saw in the video that's going around, it looks like they all just kind of stepped aside, let them go through the gate, and like the gate was up, and then they just opened the gate.
Okay. Okay, so I see in the chat that Trump doesn't give a fuck about freedom of speech, or he would let Assange go. That's true, but doesn't mean we don't have to give a fuck about freedom of speech. I mean, or are we suddenly all like Trump or like any other fucking president in the last few decades? No, we have to support freedom of speech. For it doesn't matter if we're partisan or not. How much we hate the people like that. We still have to support their right to speak. I mean, we can speak back. I mean, that's what we can do.
Right.
We just silence everyone we don't agree with, and then in the end nothing remains. Like, no, I agree. He could be someone in the chat says he's a willing participant. Well, I want to say that you have to defend freedom of speech always for the people you don't agree with. Otherwise, you don't defend freedom of speech. You're defending a certain way of thinking, a certain way of speaking. You're only allowing certain opinions, and yeah. There are always boundaries. Nobody in the chat says let's allow MAPS to have their freedom of speech if there are no boundaries. Those things are punishable by law. Then you're conflicting with other laws, but or other human rights. But the right to freedom of speech is limited to, in my opinion, to the points you are infringing upon other rights, right? Of other human rights.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a dangerous, slippery slope. Like I said, And whether you like Trump or don't, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that um, they have literally just banned Trump and tons of other accounts that were associated with him. And like, I get it. A lot of people don't like Trump, right? But further opening that door of censorship for somebody you hate like that is not worth it.
Exactly.
And I just want to put this out as well. For people who think that what happened at the Capitol on January 6th was the end of it, you got another thing coming. Because there is talks of a quote-unquote million militia march, where the militia is going to meet in D.C. on January 20th. And I don't think that's going to be good. That's all I got to say. The militia is obviously going to be armed. And, like, when people encourage these types of events, there's going to be all types of people there, so you don't know the mindset of everyone. And a lot of those people that were there on January 6th were actually screaming and saying that they were prepared to die. So, yeah, this is like shifting into what it looks like a start of a civil war.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Actually, it is very close to a civil war in that sense. I mean, there's high tensions now, but.
Well, I mean, you had 6 people killed the other day too. I mean, like, there's actual blood that's being shed now.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you're talking about such a number of people. You're talking about tens of millions of people who actually voted for this president, right? And the fact that you can now, or that you now attempt to mass silence these people, I think can make things a lot worse. I mean, you just can't take away their rights to speak. Even though some might like it, and you think these people are idiots or whatever, you can all say that. That's the thing. You have the free speech to say that. But to remove their speech, to remove everything they stand for, can make things a lot worse.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Did you get my message?
Yeah. Take your time.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. He needs to get his food delivery, right? That's the thing. Yeah, so we wanted to do a quick episode about this because it's very important. Like, just now I saw that 10,000s, maybe 100,000s of Twitter accounts are being removed, and to be honest, I can't even figure out what they are removing at this point. At first, I saw some very large QAnon accounts disappear. Now we were kind of laughing about that, but actually we shouldn't have done that. The whole all the follower counts started to drop of everyone. Like, some people lost hundreds of followers, others lost thousands, and it became very visible that there was like a big purge going on. And now there is this hashtag Purge 2021, and you can see people talking about it. The word censorship actually went trending on Twitter. That is not very often that happens. Now, sometimes Twitter does have these purges. If you think about a year ago, they started to purge a lot of people at once to do with supposed bots and things. And famous artists and celebrities use a lot of bots and fake followers to boost their accounts, right? Before they get famous. I mean, it's not organic traffic they get. They push it hard, and then they know the fans know that this is like the real account, so to speak, and they all want to do that. But in this case, it seems to be aimed at one specific political side, and that makes it very troubling, at least to me. Even though, like, don't assume I'm partisan in any way. I'm not even from the USA. But I can tell you that when big tech gets this kind of power to do this to a whole, group of
Very
voters,
dangerous. Very dangerous precedent. And
because the big tech isn't allowed to mess with democratic elections like that, right? I mean, you're influencing elections. Like even now, the elections are already finished, but these Twitter accounts, some very big ones, they would still be used 4 years from now. And now, you expect people to rebuild it, or you expect people to disappear from Twitter and to find alternatives. They have to rebuild everything or something. Like, so that means you already have created an effect on your elections 4 years from now, and that is already disturbing to me personally. That's big tech.
yeah, that's exactly right too. And what we're really like witnessing right now is them kind of setting the stage for future elections because they're getting rid of certain voices. Be it if you don't like somebody for whatever reason, right? They should still be able to have a voice, be it on social media or, like people argue, oh, well, they still have a voice. They don't have their social account. Yeah, but you're taking away somebody's like following, somebody's livelihood, whatever you wish to call it. I mean, like, and like this whole censorship thing has gone way too far. It's been accounts after accounts after accounts after accounts, and it's just been a downward spiral that we've been witnessing.
Yeah, the chat is super busy, by the way. So this is a good point. They say Twitter is a private platform. They're allowed to do whatever they want. That's fine to say that. But right now they are banking on the neutrality point of view. They're saying they're claiming protections under the CDA 230, saying they are a neutral platform where everyone can have their opinions. If they are not a neutral platform, they don't fall under the CDA 230 protections anymore. They are a publisher because they deliver a specific opinion, and if you provide a specific opinion, you no longer have the CDA 230 protections. So you are punishable by law for the things published on your platform. The users are no longer responsible. You yourself are responsible because you're a publisher. So,
well, yeah, that's under Section 230. But the thing is, like, Trump kind of gutted that with an executive order, not fully, but somewhat, as much as he legally could, late last year. But I mean, it doesn't matter if they're a private company, right? So what? They're a private company. They're a U.S. private-based company. Okay? They should have to operate under U.S. laws, which they don't. They don't have to. They don't have to abide by freedom of speech. They should, because the First Amendment is there. It's not like the First Amendment doesn't exist. So they should have to abide by that, but they don't. And the fact is that allowing private companies or anyone to censor someone's voice is a dangerous precedent for the future. You might not like Trump, and you might support his censorship, but in the future, somebody is going to get censored who you do support. And that's the thing that we're trying to kind of push here, is that it doesn't matter who's being censored. It's the fact that the censorship itself is going on. It doesn't matter the side, the left, right, whatever political like cult you want to join, right? It doesn't matter. It matters that people are being censored and having their voices taken away.
I noticed that some people are like embracing this, and I'm shocked by it because these people always pretended to be anti-censorship activists. Okay, so and I see in the chat, I see people challenge their TOS. No, I think this is if they don't no longer abide to TDA 230, they're going to be sued soon, and that is going to be done by the people who actually made them do this, because Biden will soon be in control, and he is challenging CDA 230 and wants to remove it. So he is going to terminate Twitter and Facebook. So, just saying. It's as easy as that, because it's already announced. Just a search on your favorite search engine. Type CDA 230 Biden or CDA 230 Trump, and you will find that they both target CDA 230 that says no person is responsible for what another user does online. And it's 1996 law, an internet protection law. And yeah, you'll see what happens soon. They always use a thing like this to jump in. Okay, Misty Saber says, she's a single mom of 3 and my Facebook was disabled today. I have never even had a warning. Why was I silenced? Because of who I follow? It's not right.
Well, that's what we're talking about. We're like, it's just like when you allow censorship, okay? When you open that door is open for everyone, not just the people that you don't like.
Mm-hmm. I see the Pardon Assange people showing up. Well, to be fair, we had a huge Twitter storm today for We Are All Assange, and we were pretty successful. They didn't really mess with us this time. But then at some point, later on in the Twitter storm, there were people reporting that they had their accounts deleted, but for now seems unrelated to the Assange thing. Which is surprising, but I could be wrong too, by the way, but it seems to have to do with the whole partisan thing this time.
Wonder if that's because the military has has some lack of funding right now. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, lack of funding. Yeah, exactly.
Just a guess, that's all. Because they were fucking with us all over from the first year, man. Like, as soon as Assange got arrested... No, even before that they were fucking with us. Some of our accounts got locked out right before he got arrested. Some people were shadow banned and couldn't, post. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, all these games that intelligence agencies play, and then the social media companies allow, it's just so fucking ridiculous. I mean, free speech is dead. And it really pains me to say that, because it's like, people don't get it. They just don't fucking get it. You have YouTube now telling you that you can't talk about election fraud. one of the biggest, the biggest video platform in the world is now telling you cannot talk about election fraud. Even if it's fucking real evidence, you can't talk about it. That's fucking insanity.
I'm just reading the chat and eating something meanwhile, but I read someone saying, let's fight Nazis first. Can we all agree on that?
Doesn't matter. We fought Nazis years ago.
That's what people don't 2015, he says.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. Like, we fought Nazis years ago. We didn't need the social media companies for that. Anonymous went after fucking hundreds and hundreds of KKK members.
Like in before someone actually realizing that this form of censorship, that the first thing the Nazis did was burn books and burn press that they didn't agree with, call it the Lugenpresse. So the fact that social media can do this and silence opinions they don't agree with, that is also a thing that can remind certain people of the Nazis. Just saying.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. But I mean, just like these people saying, like, well, why can't we just fight the Nazis first and then worry about freedom of press? It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. If you take away their voice, because they're horrible fucking people that still don't realize in the year 2021 that race doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter if you are white, black, yellow. What matters is the type of person. Okay? But because there are horrible people in the world that have a racial supremacy, you know, we can't have nice things.
And can we also make a difference between actual racists and actual Nazis? Because I don't think National Socialism is really alive anymore. Maybe it is in some countries, in some areas, but it's not a majority. Racism is real, though. I mean, there's a lot of racism going on. But National Socialism it seems like an outdated economic idea. So.
Well, they're still nationalists, but yeah, no, I can see what you're saying by that.
Yeah, I mean, these outdated economic structures already lost their place in history. I mean, it doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, but yeah, racism is very real, and I mean, institutional racism is very real, and yeah, whether we call them by their name, racism. Yeah, so there's a lot of parts. There's a lot of people like I'm just reading the chat on YouTube. AK, I'm not sure if you can read it, but just visit our YouTube link. I can post it in. I'm going to post it in the Discord.
I'm trying to pull up information on Iran right now, so I can actually like give a full breakdown of everything that's going on.
Meanwhile, I posted the YouTube link in the Discord, so if you see people saying something, I want to like respond to them too. I mean, because like this kind of thing, like this Purge 2021, like this affects everyone. So, and I want to see people give their experience on the air, because I can imagine there's a lot of people who lost their actual accounts.
Oh, on Twitter? Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's one on Facebook too, Misty Saber. She's in the chat and she says like, yeah, she didn't even do anything, but she just lost her Facebook account. Yeah, and she thinks it's because she followed the wrong people. Yeah, but that is not okay if that's true, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, when you open that fucking door, you allow for things like this, like groupthink, or like group guilt, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's like, oh, you followed the wrong people? Oh, okay, well, you must be associated. Then. So, like, people don't understand how serious of an issue this is, and like.
And I would not agree with like, okay, so people say like the racists have free speech. No, I don't agree with that. I mean, racism is like that you're actually making another person less than yourself, and you're hurting their right to equality, their equal rights, and you're hurting their chances in society. Like that is a very illegal thing. It is punishable by law. All the discrimination laws.
Well, some countries, yes, some countries discrimination law is a thing, right? But the issue with that is that I'm not saying that racists should be able to post racial profanities, right? We could have a system in place very easily where you can't post like racial, like you can't post. I hate this word, but I'm going to use it anyway. Hate speech. Okay. The reason why I hate the word hate speech is because it's too narrow. Like, what is hate speech? It can be defined as whatever the fuck anybody wants to be. Like, hate speech could be hate against your government. Like, and it was actually used that way before. I remember that years ago.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have social media moderation of racist people. Okay. That's not the problem. The problem is that people are getting suspended and banned for no reason. Like, if you tweet out a racial slur, okay, and you get banned for it, that's a whole different story. But still, back in 4chan days, we used to troll in the most offensive ways just to highlight freedom of speech and also get a reaction out of somebody. But, like, 4chan back then was a lot different.
10 years ago you could do a lot, many different things on the internet you can't do today anymore. People won't get the whole thing. Satire no longer exists, right, online. If you are a if you're a satirical writer, people won't understand you in 2021. That is just how it is. In the past, you could be satirical, and I mean, satire used to be very, very important to make a point on certain things, to shock people, right? Like I say something super shocking, no one agrees with, so I get the traction, so I can make my point with that. Let's see, like talk about the Habbo example, for example, right? We trolled on Habbo too. Like this is even 2 years ago. We still trolled on Habbo. Like randomly, we did some raid, and it was because if you say something like white power, it gets censored on there with boba boba, and when you say black power, it doesn't get censored. Now, I know there is a historical difference between saying that, but both is actually the exact same statement in that sense. And there is something to say for that, right? So, yeah. So I know you can say like, okay, so you have a system dominated by white people. Yeah, in that sense, maybe that is maybe true. But you had, was that the same when you had a black president, right? Okay, yeah.
I mean, that whole argument is just ridiculous to me. Like, and I've always said that, like, even if I am quote unquote a white person, right? Like I've always said the same shit, that it doesn't matter. You can still be racist and be another race. You could be racist against white people. You can be racist against Latino people. You can be racist against black people. You can be racist against Asians. Like, it's just so ridiculous, man.
Yeah. So, and Misty says, I don't like people calling police pigs, but they do have the right to walk down the street and say it as loud as they want to. Absolutely, they do. Yeah.
Now imagine they make that fucking illegal. Oh, you can no longer call a cop a pig. Like, Is that taking away your right to freedom of speech? Absolutely.
But like, okay, so if you stand next to these cops, or you like stand like 2 feet away from them, and you don't look at them, and you just randomly shout pigs, what happens then? Like, you don't say like you guys are pigs, you just start shouting pigs. Is that then your free speech? Because that's like their interpretation that you actually mean them. So they themselves call themselves pigs then, right? Because you don't have to mean them, you're just shouting pigs. Maybe you see a pig a mile away or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is some stone looking like a pig or something. You don't have to mean them. Like, but they interpret it and they say they call themselves pigs then, I think. But it's like how do you do it? Like, I know like here in the Netherlands we used to have especially in our law a clause that says you're always allowed to say I think you're a pig, right? You know, they say like you guys are pigs, but you're always allowed to say I think you're a pig. And that would actually, so people did that also. They used that until these people got kind of tired of it, right? Because it kind of like became like a meme and stuff to do that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, you're always allowed to give your opinions technically.
Well, yeah, you're allowed to give your opinion. You're allowed to give your thoughts. But with social media, they're taking that away, and they're taking it away in multiple different ways where it's scary, right?
Yeah.
We now have, like I said before, we now have rules where you can't talk about election fraud. That's literally written into the YouTube policy now. They will delete all videos that talk about election fraud, even if it's legitimate. You can't talk about You can't talk about the vaccine, even if it's legitimate. Like, what the fuck are we allowing these people to do? I don't care if they're big tech. I don't care if they're private companies. Like, we are using these services. We are using these services to communicate with each other. They are controlling the flow of information that is coming out now. It's fucking scary, man.
Did they say 4chan was deplatformed tonight? Well, the site is up here.
4chan's still around. What? Deplatformed? No.
No, it's just working fine here. Maybe it means
Website works.
8chan, but it could.
Yeah, and 8chan, they moved to another server. It doesn't matter. I mean, they'll just keep moving to a different server. There's always a company that's going to pay for server hosting. You know, like, they want their business.
Yeah, fuck that. If they got deplatformed, they go to message tab. I want it was a customer. 4chan.
Well, 8chan got banned from various different governments because they've had, for the longest period of fucking time.
Oh, really? Cloudflare is removing them from the service. Kiwi Farms is down. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, they've had for the longest period of time, they had a board where people would, it was a high scoreboard. People would post on there. It was an unofficial board. It wasn't like it was officially on there, but people would post on there that they're about to go commit a mass shooting spree, and they would try to beat the other person who killed before them. And it was like a sick game that was on 8chan for the longest period of fucking time. And the recent one was a shooting last year or the year before in, I think it was New Zealand or yeah, it was New Zealand. It was in New Zealand at a church. So, you know, like, after that whole situation happened, all these big governments started banning access to 8chan. Because they don't moderate it, they don't do anything about it. And legally, if somebody posts a threat like that, as a company, you're supposed to report it. But the way that 8chan and 4chan works, somebody can post anonymously, and they have no information about you. You can post with a VPN anonymously, and that's it. There's going to be a whole shit ton of rules coming in next year, or not next year, this year for social media companies. Various different rules. There's the SHIELD Act coming in. There's probably going to be something to do with where social media companies have to remove violent threats against the government. Pretty sure that's coming in after what happened in D.C. at the Capitol. Things are going to change, and the thing is, it's scary, man, because if you put those rules in, right, let's say we get a real, a real tyrant, say we get a reincarnation of Hitler. I mean, some people may say that's Trump, but let's say we get a real tyrant into power, not even just here in the U.S., any leader, I mean, anywhere. People won't be able to organize back. Years ago, people used Facebook and Twitter to organize the protest in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if there was laws there in place for the social media companies to stop people from organizing protest against I think it was Morsi at the time, right? Who was it in Egypt?
Yeah,
you remember?
President Morsi, yeah.
Yeah, it was Morsi. Yeah, so, imagine if there was something in place to prevent that from happening. Arab Spring never would have happened. People would still be oppressed. And that's what people need to think here, is that by enabling these strict laws, you are further pushing oppression for some people in the world, because they won't be able to organize, they won't be able to connect to the outside world, because all of a sudden their videos and everything's just being deleted. Oh man.
Yeah.
There was
you see a switch. Go ahead, you first.
I was just gonna say there was a recent case. I can't remember the country, but Twitter was removing videos from it, and YouTube was removing videos from it, and their plight didn't get out. I can't remember what country it was. It was an African country. It was very recent, and they're removing these war videos now off of YouTube and off of Twitter. They are censoring our reality. I don't know what else more to say.
Yeah, well, you see a switch happening now. Okay, so you mentioned 4chan. They're not censoring content, but they do have a report button. You have such an amount of users that you used to do it you allow people to post whatever they want, right? But illegal content can be reported, and then it will be removed. It will be judged by the moderators and the admins to remove it. And if you have enough moderators, then you can keep track of it. But now you're moving in another direction. You're preemptively censoring people. You no longer use a report button or whatever. You make sure that certain stuff can't be posted at all. In this case, you kill 100,000 of Twitter accounts of a different political flavor than your own. Some of these people maybe never even posted anything. They just have something in their bio saying they support their president. That is kind of a little bit too much, I think, to do that like that, right? I mean, you guys can agree with that. How
well, I would hope everybody can agree with that. I mean, because again, if somebody does something wrong, that's one thing. But if it's just guilt through association, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, but also like, okay, they're doing something wrong. And what is that something wrong, actually? Is it punishable by law, or is it just something someone else doesn't like? Like, I think it has to be punishable by law, and otherwise, why would you remove it? It's not a joke, right? It has to be illegal by law. I mean, because you're following a law. I mean, okay, so in any other way, your platform becomes a publisher, and you're promoting a specific opinion, and you're no different than a newspaper anymore. So
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, there used to be media that was unbiased in mainstream press. It's not there anymore. And like I said, like we said before, they're going after independent journalists and journalism, and they're using Assange as an example, while simultaneously introducing biased fact checkers that will spin shit at the drop of a hat. I mean, like I've used this example multiple times before, but I wrote an article about a scientific atmospheric explosion that could happen if a asteroid got too close to the Earth, and it got spun into, I think that there's going to be an asteroid that's going to hit the Earth. That's not what I said. It's just so ridiculous, like, what's going on now. They're killing independent media. They're threatening journalists and journalism in general. Nobody's going to want to be a journalist. There used to be some protections that were there, right?
yeah,
But with Assange, what's that proving? Proving that there's no protections there. And it doesn't matter if you are a foreign journalist or not. The U.S. is going to try to come after you, which is absolutely insane. So I mean, we're watching the world kind of shift now, and it's not for the good. It's very negative to be witnessing all of this going on now, and starting out 2021 with riots and people dying in D.C. is not a good way to start the year. And as I said, the U.S. is kind of seems like they're planning for war, and the statement from NATO is very interesting.
but see, that is also a thing. So that you can also keep that in mind, like to have this preemptive censorship thing going on now. It can also be used in war times, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I know that plenty of people will not agree to a war with Iran or whatever country. I mean, and if you speak out about it, maybe you get removed. We don't know.
Right, because that door is fucking open. That's what I'm saying. That door is open to go after whoever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing, man, because, yeah, let's say all of a sudden, the government wants social media companies to ban activists that are against the war. Like, are they going to comply with that? Like, we don't fucking know anymore.
In the car, 99%. Is the sound better now? I mean, I made some changes, so can you guys confirm it's better now? Yeah, I think you were way louder. I was not so loud.
Yeah. Okay, so this week, for the fourth time since November, B-52 bombers were deployed over the Persian Gulf, which is very close to Iran. Actually, let me just look that up just to be 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it's close or is Iran, but let me just double check.
Okay. Okay, the sound is better now. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, and until we're talking about the war things that can be censored, and what about the COVID reporting? We see now a lot of people protesting against lockdowns or other things. Now, what do you agree or not with that? That's going to be that can be censored too if they don't agree with it, right? So, yeah, but I think it is your right to protest. It is a democratic right to protest. If you do it in a safe way, you can do it always. Right? You're allowed to do it.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing too. They've been going after the COVID lockdown protests too on social media. But the thing is, like, it's a very slippery road there, and all right, so I looked it up just for the whole argument there. The Persian oh fuck, hold on.
Yeah, I always say Iran.
Yeah, it's like the Persian Gulf is right next to Iran.
You say Iran, but I know a lot of Americans say Iran, but it's actually you have to say Iran.
Iran, Iran. I don't fucking care what the hell it's called. The point is that the Persian Gulf, the U.S. flew B-52 bombers over the Persian Gulf this week, which is taunting Iran, warning them essentially. B-52 bombers are the nuclear bombers. Yeah, so
About the intimidation, right? Intimidation of a.
Yeah, right. I said taunting, but yeah, it's more intimidation.
We saw it like what is it, like 2 months ago, that the American fleet was going into Russian territorial waters, and they had like a small skirmish where like a Russian boat threatened to like ram a U.S. Navy vessel. So they were not shooting at each other, but they said like, yeah, if you don't leave now, we're going to ram you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just these countries showing force, and we've also been like suggesting that maybe like recent like denial of service attacks and stuff in the USA were done by foreign governments just to like show force.
It has to be, like, because there've been so many of them in such a short period of time, man. Like, it doesn't make sense. And I talk to everybody who has firepower, who I fucking know, and I was like, look, all right, if it's you doing this shit, like, for fuck's sakes, man, can you stop? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, the internet's going out like fucking once a week. I'm like, dude, like, it's literally hurting my like productivity for doing work. I'm like, come on, fuck, man, like, don't punish all of us for what the U.S. is doing. Like, there's other better options there, but I mean, like, everybody I talked to said no, and like, whoever the fuck's doing this, they have a lot of firepower because they're taking out cell phone towers, ISPs, services like Amazon, AWS, Google servers, everything all at once. Like, it has to be a government actor. There's no other explanation.
Definitely, these were like very visibly. These were APTs, advanced persistent threats, and that's usually government actors doing it. You can't just like at this point in time. There are very few with botnets being able to do that. Or you have to find a new exploit, a new 0 day that we don't know yet about that can be used. Like you had the examples of using like open DNS servers, for example, to make attacks larger, amplified. But all that stuff it is patched in the sense that big government, the really big ones like level 3 or Cogent are not going to go down with it. So yeah,
Right.
yeah, you're talking about state actors. But in the next to that, like okay, so these are state actors doing it, but they're not destroying the internet. They're like showing that they can, kind of like showing muscles, which is kind of like the same thing as like moving your bombers in Iran airspace. I mean, you're showing that you can do it, but you're not actually doing it yet. Like,
Well, I mean, there was a day, I think it was in August, I believe it was either August or September, where the internet was down all day for like, I think for a 24-hour period here in the U.S.
okay, well that is disturbing, because then you have the stock markets and stuff being hit. You have connections between the stock market and these investment websites, etc., being hit, and then you have bigger problems. Or credit card transactions, for example. You can if you do it during like Black Friday, you cause a lot of damage.
Yeah. There hasn't been a time where yet, where there was service outages with, like, say, credit card companies and stuff like that. I mean, it's happened in the past, obviously, and that was with with the operation. Fuck was that operation against the banks? I can't remember what the hell it was called. Icarus, right? Operation Icarus years ago. But recently, I haven't seen it. No, they like the only things going out are cell phone towers and ISPs and services. And the thing is, take out a cell phone tower, man. That's a lot of fucking power. But to take out several cell phone towers across the U.S., that's a feat. And that to me says somebody has a 0 day of some sort, where they're able to do something like that, because that's a lot of fucking power.
Yeah. Okay, someone in chat asked who did Obama hand the internet over to. Well, you had an expiry of a contract in 2016, in October 2016, and it could have been extended, but it wasn't. Obama.
I can't.
Yeah, so Obama let the Department of Commerce give the control of the IANA functions to ICANN, and ICANN is officially a non-profit organization that has no ties to the U.S. government. So before that, you had some control by the U.S. government, but then it was handed over to ICANN entirely. So ICANN is non-profit, but yeah, technically it's not. I'm not going to. Yeah, okay, it is a non-profit company. Yeah.
Right. But back to what we were talking about with Iran. I just linked you the article. I don't know if you can pull it up on stream or not. But basically, it says NATO is furious at Trump delaying the military handover to Biden while there is a significant security situation underway with Iran that could explode at any time.
Okay, let me see. This is an archive article from Business Insider.
Well, no, it's not an archive article. It's archived from Business Insider because just in case they pull it down.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Because in the past, like when NATO says something, or the UN or the U.S. military, anything like that, they typically remove some information off of the internet, like they delete the web page after a certain period of time, or they might say, oh, that has too much national security information, pull that down. You never know.
Yeah, okay, Serena does make a great point, because she says so an NGO censorship could not have happened if the U.S. government was still involved, and that does make sense, because the president is the leader of the U.S. government. And technically, you could just pull the plug on Twitter, right? You say like, change this shit now, or your site doesn't come online anymore. Yeah, that's true. On the other hand, yeah, okay, I wasn't going to mention, but ICANN is an NGO, but it is in Californian NGO. It is in Los Angeles, and an NGO is also subject to U.S. government rules. So, yeah, you're still dealing with a lot of things there. I mean, you could throw it under a lot of different laws. I mean, if like as a I was in the Trump government and I was a lawyer, I could throw it under a lot of different laws. Like, you're literally, if the president, if they use it for communications to the outside, you're literally disturbing communications from the White House. Meaning, you could also say like this is like a terrorist act or whatever, right? I would throw up the Patriot Act and kick their doors in, right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff the government can do. I mean, the U.S. government. If you were, but yeah, okay. So this is very difficult to even think about. But it is it is a very powerful message that big tech companies are now sending out, because they're now working together on it too, right? Apple, Facebook.
I just saw that there's another situation here that took place before the U.S. flew the B-252 bombers over the Persian Gulf. Iran uses its grip on Strait of Hormuz to fight back against U.S.-imposed sanctions. Apparently, there was a South Korean warship that was patrolling the Persian Gulf after Iran seized a tanker. Was last year.
Okay.
Yeah. There's also, I'm trying to read this real quick just to make sure that I'm giving the right information. Because I don't like to put out this information and have to walk things back.
Yeah. Okay. So in the meantime, I'll read this article you sent. So that article is from a Business Insider, and it says NATO is furious at Trump delaying the military handover to Biden, while there is a significant security situation underway with Iran that could explode at any time. Sources are accusing President Donald Trump of mishandling the transition of the Pentagon to President-elect Joe Biden at a time of high tensions with both Russia and Iran. We need the incoming Biden administration to be fully briefed and ready to deal with these very dangerous issues facing NATO security, a senior NATO official told Insider. Security sources are also unimpressed by some of the officials Trump is leaving behind. The refusal to coordinate the handover of the most powerful military force in the world in a united, responsible manner would be almost unthinkable, the NATO source said. Except, of course, it's 2020, and we're talking about the incredibly selfish, irresponsible asshole called Donald Trump. So that is pretty much it. So there was anger among two NATO officials and a former Obama administration defense official contacted by Insider described a tense environment as the US and its allies deal with the aftermath of wholesale Russian hacking of US government computer systems, as well as increased tensions with Iran throughout the Middle East. Yeah. Okay, so in other words, they want to have a war, and they need it handed over to Mr. War Biden, who is responsible for droning a lot of kids under the Obama administration. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and this is another thing with the South Korea thing. The seized oil tanker was actually the other week. I didn't know that till now. So
Yeah, I would look at it from like the objective side. What country would like openly push America into a war? I mean, no country in the world wants to have the American army attacking them. So there's always thinking like these kind of things are false flags, or these are like exaggerated. I'm thinking like no individual country wants the United States on its soil.
well, supposedly Iran seized an oil tanker from South Korea. And then the next thing that took place is the U.S. flew B-52 bombers in the Persian Gulf. man. They want to go in from a pandemic into fucking World War III. Like, Jesus. So it's starting to look like. And just to clarify there, it's actually the Marines that were training in the Philippines this past week.
Okay. Serena S says the Pentagon gave Biden transition team a fake story. Only Biden. Within 24 hours it showed up in CCP networks. So they stopped security transition and Trump fired 6 people inside the Pentagon, according to the news. Feel free to drop some kind of article about that. Read a little bit more about it. I don't know. US.
I'm trying to pull this other article here on the Philippines and the U.S. Marines training in the Philippines, but hold on.
Haza says Australia does joint exercises in the Philippines.
What was that?
Haza, who's in the chat, says Australia does joint exercises in the Philippines. You know, India, the United States, Australia, and there was another country I forgot right now. They were like doing exercises in to show like an some kind of like an anti-China force, right? And they then
Right.
like,
Yeah, it's pretty interesting too, because India was actually on China's side with the whole BRICS nations thing, and then they got into that tussle in the mountains, and then everything went downhill from there.
yeah, border skirmish. They both have a claim on that land in these mountains.
Yeah, I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but yeah, there's those mountains.
India's pretty aggressive on that too lately. I mean, with the Kashmir thing too, having these skirmishes with Pakistan over Kashmir, and but China does the same thing, like with Nepal and all. They're also like Tibet. They're also putting all these claims on countries. But Tibet was interesting. They just moved like millions of Chinese people in, and then literally took the country over with a so-called democratic vote, right? Like the mass immigration of Chinese people. It's very weird. These these oppressive governments have all used their different tactics to do it, but they're all very aggressive. And India too. It is expansionist. I didn't expect it at all from India, especially because it's a former colony of like a former British colony. So. You know how it is to live under colonization.
Right. Yeah, I can't even find this article, man. It's like pulled down or something. I don't fucking know. I can't find it. I tried to visit the link that I was sent, and it's 404. So I do not see it. The U.S. and Philippines have always trained together, though. But the thing is, like, what's been going on between the Philippines and China, back and forth, with like the rhetoric, is why this is kind of significant, in my opinion. And also, the U.S. And China over the past couple months, getting into it in the South China Sea. There was also an incident where they fired missiles into the air. It didn't hit anything, but they fired them directly up in the air as like kind of like warning shots.
Okay.
I'm still looking for some things here, though. In other news, while I look this up, the Bitcoin price, holy fuck, man. I didn't think it was going to move this quick.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin price, what, last week was like 20 something K, right? This week it's 40K.
It's 40K already, Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's going up fast. Let's see prediction, it will go up to 250,000 this year. I'm not sure.
Something like that, yeah. Like, I did not expect it to move this quick up that fast. I thought maybe we'd get a dip, and then it would continue. But no, it's just been going fucking parabolic and moving up crazy.
Okay. Yeah, digital currency. Yeah, well, when there's instability on the market, or there's like there are war tensions, or there are problems during like this stuff in Washington. Yeah, then natural resources are cryptocurrencies will go on the rise because the normal currencies are falling. Like there is.
Well, they're now discussing another stimulus package, saying that they're going to give people $2,000. And, you know, like...
Yeah, but that's also putting the printing presses on, meaning the devaluation of money.
Oh, yeah, that's devaluating the dollar. So, I mean, of course Bitcoin's going to go up off news like that. And gold, not just Bitcoin, but, like, everything's going to go up when you hear news like that, when it's... You know, the printer press is going burr.
Yeah, you're injecting huge amounts. I mean, like, okay, let's say you give 200 million Americans $1,000. It means you give 200 billion. You're injecting 200 billion into the economy, right? You get 2,000. You're injecting 400 billion into the economy.
You know, if you would have put the $1,200 they gave us last time into Bitcoin, you know, you would have made almost 10 grand. Like, Because the price has gone up so fucking ridiculous now. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like, okay, so you inject 400 billion into an economy that is perhaps 10 trillion at this point still. It should be more, but yeah, you have the whole lockdown shit going on. So you're injecting 400 billion, so that is 1 in 25. It is 4%, right? 4%. So you're injecting 4% new money into it, and you're also devaluating it with 4%. Just saying.
of course.
And that means also that the Bitcoin or whatever goes up for 4%. Anything else goes up 4%. If you notice your oil suddenly is more expensive 4%, it doesn't mean the oil is more expensive. It means you just devaluated your currency. So yeah, it's very simple. Like if you yeah, I said it before. If you're on the market and you only have buyers for 10 apples, but you have 11 of them, then you're reducing the price of the apples to still sell it. You have too many apples. So yeah, it is devaluation going on. Yeah, it's very very easy. So that's devaluating. You drop the price until the 11 apples are sold. Yeah, when no one wants it. Yeah. But no, that's the thing. But yeah, that is, so cryptocurrencies go up. But also gold and silver, right? Natural resources, or coffee, for example, which is now a luxury product. Was not a luxury product in the past, but is now, and becomes more expensive. I mean, it used to be like so regular, everyone was drinking coffee, but it becomes a luxury product now. Even in my own country, you see it now. You have with these pads and stuff, right? Instead of like a big jar of coffee, or people buying these expensive pads and stuff. That's a trick they're using to show that this is a luxury product now. We can make a bigger profit on it. Pads are relatively very expensive compared to normal coffee, which just comes from leaves. Say, yeah. But oil also, and in America you're still lucky. The oil prices are low compared to other countries. I mean, you pay per gallon, a few bucks per gallon, but here you pay almost the same amount for a liter, and yeah, a gallon I think is 4.5 liters. So we pay a lot more for our gas here. So,
Right.
yeah, you're lucky with that. You can fake a well-running economy with that. Like as long as you keep the oil prices low, people will still get around. They will because they drive a lot in a large country. So you know. In the chat, it said digital currency hit the 1 trillion market cap.
Yeah, yeah. All cryptocurrencies hit 1 trillion. That's pretty fucking historic. I mean, last time it pushed up towards, it was like, I think it was 860 million, right? That's when the crash came. So we've now reached past that, and you know, it's pushing. Pretty fucking huge, to be honest. I mean, and I think Bitcoin's like 70% of that. Like, that's pretty fucking crazy. Bitcoin's like 800 million, I think. Let me just double check that one before I say that, but I think it is. Nope, I'm close. It's right currently it's 744 million. So that's still pretty significant. Like, and we're at 40K again. It's now $40,652.77. I did say to buy and that you would regret it, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
I did say that. Just saying.
Guys, if you have other questions, post in the chat. Chat seems to be very active. Other people than usual.
Could be because it's Friday, but then we're all under lockdown, so I don't think that's it. What's the questions in the chat?
Kashmir was complaining about freedom of press being actively shut down. And one person says there's a huge game of Risk going on. India and China just had a war in the 60s, I think. Serena says she tried to buy a Bitcoin in 2018, but the wallet did not work. She gave up. Yeah, I don't know. There's lots of stuff. Yeah, it is easier now to get yourself in cryptocurrency, though. I mean, you don't have to use a local wallet. It is safer, but there are certain websites you can use for that too. They beefed up their security lately, so a lot of stuff got hacked in the past. I like a site called Cryptonator. It's actually a good site, I think.
What is this about? Say that again, I'm sorry.
No, as you said, Serena says she tried to buy a Bitcoin in 2018, but her wallet didn't work, so she gave up. Do you use like a local wallet, or do you use like a website for it? Okay.
Software. I use hardware wallets. Like I ain't trusting fucking that much money on a software wallet. I'll temporarily move money to a software wallet, but I mean, I mainly use hardware wallets. Depends on how much money you're putting. Like, if you're gonna buy something, right, with crypto, then moving it to a software wallet temporarily is fine. But if you're keeping a large amount of money, you don't keep it on a software wallet where it can get hacked, Even though my OPSEC is like top tier, everything's set up correctly, fucking no way to get into my system, but
Okay.
you never know, man. You gotta keep. If you have thousands and thousands of dollars in crypto, and that's your savings, you don't want to get that fucking stolen. But I mean, I started mining Bitcoin back in 2010, 2011. Lost the wallet, didn't think anything about it until years later when it was worth so much more money, and then jumped back into crypto, and there's a whole bunch of new cryptocurrencies, thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies, and all types of different applications and everything where you can earn them. I've been in this industry for years, so I mean, I know more information about crypto than most people.
Yeah, if you have any questions about crypto, you can just ask. Kay knows everything about that.
Well, most of the basic things, that's obvious, but
If you want help with it, you can just reach out to him on Twitter. He's on Twitter. Censor it AK, right?
Yep.
Censor
with
it
a zero.
Yeah, censor it with a 0. Censor it AK on Twitter.
This is interesting. I just saw this news. Apparently, through the Supreme Court, they are now starting to decide whether or not you legally have to hand over your iPhone passcode to law enforcement. Obviously, that would push on to Android too if it passes. But that goes into the whole argument of, oh, but if you're not doing anything wrong, then you shouldn't be afraid.
Oh yeah. It's like it makes me think about Mark Zuckerberg, what he said. Like, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. And Google said that too, from Nazi Germany, the Nazi propaganda minister. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear.
Oh, Goebbels! You said Google.
I say Goebbels, but Goebbels. I don't know what the Americans say about that, but yeah.
No, I thought you said Google.
No. I wouldn't be surprised if he would say something like that too, but yeah. No, Facebook. Zuckerberg said that.
Yeah, I remember.
Exactly 80 years after Google said it, by the way. Exactly 80 years. That's interesting too, because that's exactly like the time that you assume that no one is alive anymore from when Google said it.
This is interesting. So they're making taxpayers foot the bill for the Capitol siege and all the damage that took place because the government is refusing insurance. What?
Okay.
They say the building and grounds are not insured. So because the building and grounds are not insured, they're going to make the taxpayers pay for the damages. Like, again, that's like punishing the people. Like, what the fuck? Oh, this one's interesting. So apparently, according to Salon... Wait, what? Oh, okay, so I didn't know that. Apparently, MSN bought Salon. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Had no idea. Anyway, pro-Trump rioters stole Nancy Pelosi's and other top lawmakers' laptops and iPads. So they're saying that they have private information. They have national security information, is what the authorities are saying. It's not like they're going to have like nuclear launch codes or anything. I mean.
Okay. So someone says, and they don't ban pedophiles. Twitter and Facebook is full of child porn being posted publicly, and it's funny how none of that ever gets purged. What do you think of that?
That's not entirely true. I mean, it's just that, yes, all of these platforms are inundated with child pornography. And the reason being that the social media companies and the feds can't do anything against child pornography being posted is because the pedophiles are now using VPNs and proxies and everything else while they're online. They got smarter. Years ago, a lot of these people were being arrested, and people still do get arrested, but it's more for like entrapment operations. Now, they're abusing encryption technology, and they're abusing, like I said, VPNs to hide their true IPs, and I mean, like, it's like a double-edged sword. Like when it comes to encryption and everything, it's like, just because somebody else is using it for that type of activity, doesn't mean that encryption should be banned. No. But there's really no way to stop it. I mean, when it comes to encryption, I mean, you need encryption there to protect normal users from their information getting out there to hackers and sharks online who will just sell private information. So you can't ban encryption. like these politicians think that we can just ban encryption and the problem of child exploitation will go away. No, that's not how this works. But that's the reason why they're trying to push for banning VPNs and encryption, is because, supposedly because that it's being used by pedophiles and everything. And it is being used by pedophiles. That's not the point. The point is that they would just use something like that to ban it for another reason.
Yeah, no. So, but these are like real criminal acts, and apparently they have a problem with banning that. But suddenly with these things, their algorithms seem to work fine. Isn't that weird?
Well,
like they can mass target. I mean, like, okay, real quick. So they can mass target accounts who spread like a certain political opinion, right? But they can't mass target accounts that spread child porn or whatever.
Well, they could if they spent money implementing a solution to do it. Like, for instance, Cloudflare has a technology where it kind of scans your site constantly looking for child pornography, and if it finds it, it alerts you. So, I mean, like, these are types of ways that they could do it. It's just really fucking expensive to do for a site that's getting millions and millions and millions and millions of hits, maybe even billions of hits a day. Like, I would say probably billions. Twitter probably getting billions. Facebook's getting billions. But if you implement a solution like that early on, like we've done, then it's a lot easier to manage compared to implementing it later on, if that makes sense. So yeah, they could implement an algorithm to prevent uploading of images like that, and videos, by kind of scanning a database for metadata, and then it looks for the metadata when you try to upload the video. But it's an expensive solution, and the more users that you have, it's going to be more expensive. And the social media sites, especially Twitter, Facebook makes a little bit more money than Twitter does. Twitter doesn't make a lot of money, as much as you think they would, because they don't have a real, like, revenue model, right? And that's the problem with Twitter, is that it's free to kind of use and tweet, and sometimes you see a sponsored ad or whatever, but they don't really have a revenue model where they're going to be getting a lot of money in to expand it, or to pay for more admins or whatever. Like, they're not making that much revenue. They make a good amount of money, obviously, or it wouldn't be around, but they're not making, like, say what Facebook is, and Facebook's making a pretty chunk of change. So
Yeah, so Areep says we need more developers into AOSP. That is an Android open source project. And he's happy with his ROM, but there's room for improvements for sure. I can see that over 250 permissions Google enforces, and it's scary as fuck. Yeah, see, that's the thing. These big companies, they do. If you don't have enough crowd working on that, then you don't have the oversight on these companies. You need a big crowd, and especially the open source community can do a lot for that. I suppose open source coders give input about what is wrong and what can be done better, right? And that is we do with real open source. But it's like you're dealing with an open source community inside Google, right? And Google is an aggressive corporation.
Well, when it comes to like developing open source software for, say, Android, it's I won't say it's not fully open source. But like, say, when you're developing a ROM, right? You're developing your own kind of operating system, but the operating system is still partially based off of Android. So, I mean, I understand what he's saying, like about like permissions and everything, like the 250 permissions he said. I didn't even know it was that many, so that's pretty crazy. But yeah, it becomes difficult because unless you're dealing with, like, say, XDA developers or like one of those form websites, it's hard to get developers to work on a project like that. Because, again, open source means that everybody's kind of working for free, right? So some of these developers over the years, they've been kind of taking donations for working on ROMs and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's an option to kind of get people to work on something like that. The AOSP, it kind of sounds a little bit familiar. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just an Android open source project, and you can customize your Android and your so everything. But yeah. So as an open source developer, yeah, you don't directly make money all the time, but you can make money by working together with like proprietary software developers, right? You have certain. Okay, so let's say you have Photoshop, for example. You want Photoshop that works on like Windows and stuff. But let's say you have an open source OS, and you want Photoshop to be compatible on your OS, and your OS is being used by so many different users, and you work with such companies, and they can pay you for it to make it compatible, your open source system for their software. Like there's other ways to do it. Browsers, right? You can offer to code for them and make it compatible, and they can offer you money, definitely. Yeah. And when your software becomes like a core thing for these new programs to run on, yeah. And it has to do with like market cap, right? If you have like a huge market, and Android has a huge market, there is a lot of paid software for it, right? You have to pay games and stuff in what is it, like Google Store and stuff. You can download all the games and things, and
the Play Store, yeah.
Yeah, the Play Store, yeah. Sorry, I'm a little old for these things. I use it, but I use it for banking things and I use it for the Prime XBT you showed me. It was funny to use it.
Oh, does it actually have an app? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I used the app. It was very simple to use. Like, I wanted to do the trading full time, right? It was like even like walking on the street was trading with it. I didn't make a lot of trades, but also sometimes I lose a lot. Sometimes I win a lot. I make sometimes, yeah. Crypto is a risk. I like Forex better, AK. It's easier for me. I'm better at Forex.
Interesting. Yeah, I never did any forex trading or anything. So that article I just sent you, it was kind of one of the articles I had open in one of my tabs, but it says that in the title it says that DC cops claim that off-duty personnel were among rioters that flashed ID badges at on-duty colleagues. So they're saying that they flashed their badges and let them go through, and the crowds kind of push through. I'm not buying that.
No, the backlash is too big. They're hunting down all the people who were involved with that.
Yeah.
There were some suggestions made that
there's been arrests already. Yeah, there's been some arrests already. There was a politician who's arrested too. Was West Virginia politician? Let me just look up real quick.
Yeah, well, there were suggestions made that it was a false flag or whatever. Was people who didn't really support it. Now, okay, this is difficult. This is difficult because now it is going to be used by the establishment, and it is already being used to silence a lot of people on Twitter and stuff. And
right.
I lost 1,100 followers now today. Just saying. Which is not a huge chunk. I may easily make it back, but it's 1,100 is still. This account just disappeared. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, to be honest. I mean, I lost like 50, but yeah, that just shows that they're going after a lot of people. 1,100, damn. So, one of the state lawmakers in West Virginia was charged with entering a restricted area of the U.S. Capitol after he live streamed himself rushing into the building.
Yeah. Now I saw that lady being killed. It was shocking to see. Yeah. And people so butthurt always. On Twitter, I was shocked with the number of anons embracing the censorship. This to me is not a good sign at all. I'm just going to say it again. I mean, this is not a partisan issue. It can be we both said it. This can be used against anything now, and this is not okay. And right now I see trending in the USA is goodbye Twitter as a tag. So there's people leaving Twitter permanently. Yeah, and I see that certain news outlets do mention it too. They say like Twitter permanently bans Donald Trump for his platform, citing risk of further incitement of violence. Yeah, because you're talking about millions and millions of people. And if you have silence millions and millions of people, that's going to be a risk. Whatever you think of it or not, you're taking their voice away, and they're going to demand their voice in different ways. The numbers.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that, but also, I mean, there's talk of the whole armed protest thing, and Twitter is like against that, and so is Facebook and all these other groups, right? But the thing is, they don't realize what they're doing. They're pushing these meetings underground. By saying you're going to ban that talk on your social network, you can't monitor it. They're pushing it underground to places that they won't be able to monitor what's going on. These like regulators and everything, they don't realize what they're doing when they try to do these types of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and so apparently now the big tech can decide what is allowed and what is not allowed. So now we're dealing with partisan politics, but we're going to deal with this now with the upcoming war that is being planned, and we're going to deal with this also with the lockdowns, right? Lockdown protests. They're going to also be stopped.
Well, I mean, I don't know about coming war if they're going to block protesters who are fighting back against saying no war.
I doubt it. I don't know.
That's the thing. We don't fucking know. You know, they can do whatever the fuck they want, and that's the scary thing. I mean, we've used these sites to connect for years with each other around the world, and kind of seems like they're decreasing our ability to speak to each other.
Yeah. I'm just reading in the meantime on social media about this whole purge thing, right? It happens every so now so often that this is not a new thing, these purges, but I've never seen it really for political stuff. It was announced before for QAnons, but yeah, QAnons were kind of like a cultish thing, and yeah, these QAnons do shout weird stuff all the time. You can't really take that seriously. I mean, but even their free speech is free speech. I mean, you can't just silence them either. I mean, I'm not happy with that either. But yeah, like Modema Rose says in the chat, they're reducing the ability to organize, and that can be used by the establishment against many different things. Anything they don't like, they can use. They can use it against.
Right, and you don't even have to think about now, right? You can think in the future that there is a even worse leader that comes to power that is a tyrant, and by limiting our ability to organize, we won't be able to fight back against that. And I'm saying, like, a real tyrant, say that's starting to genocide people or something like that, we won't be able to fight back against that because of these stipulations that are being put in place now for us. And you might laugh about that and say, oh, that'll never fucking happen. That's probably what the people in Nazi Germany said. That'll never happen.
Okay, we have someone desperate to be mentioned on the air, saying this is an account called Never Trump, right? But it says George Soros accounts are being blocked, so Greta Thunberg can create fake climate change accounts to push lockdown for environmental reasons. Did you get that?
Okay, so the account's called Never Trump, and they're against George Soros. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is very weird. Because George Soros is like, is that not the leader against Trump? Oh, I'm not allowed to say that.
Well, not leader against Trump, but he's funded some protests against Trump. Yes, and I know people don't realize that, but it's true. I mean, do you think that some of these protest organizers aren't getting paid?
Of course they are. We even know that there was some money streams, but we're not publishing it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's the organizers. It's not the fucking random protesters that are out there. It's the organizers that organize the protest. And I'm not saying every fucking protester is paid. That'd be insane. But there has been in the past protests that have been organized by Soros, and he paid some of the organizers, and I don't understand why that's such a hard concept for people to understand. But
I was actually myself on the brink tonight to expose a few grifters, but I decided not to do it at the end of the day. But We see
Grifters of what?
just money hungry fucking idiots inside our movements. They make me pissed off because like we're dealing with that in Anon too. So I was like, you have the Anon HQ people, anonymous official people, right? And they're disgusting to our movements because they're not actually involved with any of our ops. They're not helping out with anything. They're just making money.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean, right?
Okay, I know what you mean. Okay, I see what you mean by grifters.
We have them too, and in the Assange movements we see them too now. So and I was about to expose a few, but I didn't do it.
It might be best that you don't, so you don't lose your account. Or if you're going to do it from another account.
Yeah, we'll see.
Just saying, do it from another account. Don't do it from the main account. We don't need to lose another big account.
No. We're working on a few new accounts though, but I'm not sure how long they last. We don't know.
Depends. I mean, it depends on how you log into them and everything else now. It's like it's insanity, man. Like how much shit you have to do to be active on a social media platform.
I attach them to separate VPS servers now with a separate phone number. They're not going to like see that it's the same person. It's impossible. But you're right, and you have to actually have the infrastructure to do that. Otherwise you can't even do it. So, and normal users they don't do that. But there is also a thing. You need technical capabilities to do these things. Now, a VPS server is not hard. I mean, you just have to connect to it and it works. The normal people, just the people in the street, like the grandmas and the grandparents, right? Those are the people actually they are being hurt by this kind of stuff. Like we don't have to fear for ourselves so much. I mean, we can adapt to it and we will make new accounts. It doesn't matter. And we have a collective where people follow each other really fast and they know how to find each other. We use group chats where we connect with each other, and we use other platforms where we connect with each other. But the normal people don't have these things. They just want to they want to go online on their Facebook or whatever, and they just want to post about like something they hate or something they like, and they don't have these capabilities to do it, and they're going to be hit really hard. And that's actually the majority of the people, right? Like we have an intellectual minority in every country. There's maybe less than 1%, but you have a huge majority of people who are not capable of any of these things, and it doesn't make them dumb or something, but they're just focused on other things. Yeah.
Well, when it comes to technology, I mean, most people have no fucking idea. So everything has to be, like, simple. You know? But what they're doing is they're kind of forcing us to do this, do that, do this, do that, to keep our, like, rights, or protect ourselves online from action from a government, or, you know, like, whatever the fuck, like... I mean, if you use, like, a fully anonymous VPN, right, the chances of you having any type of government action coming to your door are significantly lower than not using one. You know, in the past, there's been people who've had visits, knocks on the door, because they said something wrong on social media. You know, like...
Yeah.
It's so fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, all this shit that's going on.
was trying to find more info. So it was said it was actually Hunter Biden who asked Facebook. There was a letter leaked, a letter sent to Facebook by Hunter Biden to remove accounts.
What?
Yeah, I received a message from someone, and he has like a leaked. I'm going to pull it up for you.
Well, Biden's under investigation for various different things right now, so that's everything that's happening right now is so interesting because it's like, oh man, it's proving how corrupt the government actually is. And if that wasn't proven enough in 2016 with the whole Hillary Clinton situation, I mean, what's going on now is just ridiculous. It's like the media wouldn't report on Hunter Biden and all this stuff that was coming out because they said, oh, well, Donald Trump's a worse candidate than Biden is, so we're not going to report on anything about Biden. Or we're just going to call it fake news.
Sorry, I was a little distracted. Yeah, VPNs get you flagged as a suspect. That is true too. Especially on Facebook, they literally disable your account instantly.
Depends, my friend. It depends. There's certain ways you can set these VPNs up. For instance, like...
Oh yeah, but you can do it yourself too. You can set up your own VPN from a VPS server. Just an encrypted connection with your VPS.
Yeah, you could do that too, but I mean, like, if you set it up correctly and where it's like a kill switch type of thing, where if your IP drops, your IP, if your VPN drops, your IP doesn't, your like normal IP doesn't expose itself, and switch DNS and all that shit, MAC address, blah 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 blah, browser connection, browser ID, like, and just log on Facebook from that, you might not get your account suspended. It just depends. It's a matter of how you set things up. If your connection is constantly dropping, like while using a VPN, and it's giving or switching location, like VPN locations, then you'll get your account banned, because then you're accessing your account from like 20 different locations, or at least that's what it says it is, and that flags you as suspicious. But if you only use one location for logging into your account, for instance, Iceland, you constantly log into your Facebook account from the Iceland VPN, you'll be fine. It's more about accessing your account for multiple locations than it is for anything else, because that's how their system works for flagging things. But I will say, with Facebook, there's something weird about them, because I can sign up for an account and be banned within like a few hours or a day or so, because they kind of like global ban me. Like, I can't have a Facebook. I'm permanent banned on Facebook. So that was after like the whole 2016 election thing and all that shit, and Alice Donovan and blah 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 blah. But anyway, like, I can't have a Facebook account. So I can understand like what you're saying in some sense, but for most services, it just matters how many times you connect from multiple different locations.
Okay. Yeah, you can also use .onion too. I mean, yeah.
You're more likely to get banned on an onion than anything else.
Yeah, in the past, Facebook did have a separate .onion link, right? It was actually kind of cool. They did that. I liked it. But now, yeah, Facebook is unusable with .onion because yeah, you can only use it with JavaScript on, and JavaScript still makes a connection to your PC, so they can just literally circumvent the browser with that. Yeah, so JavaScript loads locally on your PC, so yeah, pretty much destroys everything.
Right.
Okay, in the chat, Facebook had everyone traced and tracked very early. Reap says sign up and immediately change to a Proton email, then just randomly add Indian scammers. This is how I got to keep a Facebook alt after failing numerous times. Yeah, they have a weakness for Indian scammers, right?
Wait, what? Add scammers? What?
Yeah, no, he says sign up and immediately change to a Proton email and then just randomly add Indian scammers. This is how I got to keep an FB alt after failing numerous times. How do you even find these Indian scammers? What do you search for? Like, Reeves, what do you search for? Oh. Yeah, oh, I know what he means. I think these are these tech scammers, right? They call you and say like your computer is fucked or whatever. I will help you to fix your computer.
Yeah.
That's what they do. These Indian scammers. I remember them because on YouTube you have all these scam baits and you see them like getting like hacked back and stuff. I know. I like the chat tonight. There's like these people and they have actually interesting stuff to say. Can I just repeat real quick that Bitcoin is an open source thing and you can actually use blockchain.com to see every fucking transfer to a Bitcoin address?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it would be common knowledge by now, but it seemed like...
Yeah, it's fully open source. You can't edit the code.
It's not editable.
Yeah,
it's like a legal proof. You can literally see all...
It is editable if there's enough consensus in the network, but to get that consensus would be literally fucking impossible. They tried to get it with SegWit in 2016 or 2017, I don't remember, and they failed. So, I mean, like, and that caused the chain split to Bitcoin Cash. So, I mean, it's pretty damn hard to get consensus on a proposal for the Bitcoin network.
Yeah, so if you use like Monero and things are a little more private, but if you use Bitcoin, all transactions made to your account are visible on the blockchain.
Well, Monero is actually not even private either. Monero is actually cracked. So Monero is fully cracked. People can view your transactions. It's a lot of the transactions being used on Monero is actually for illicit purposes of buying drugs and child pornography and other things. There's a tweet here. This is interesting. After Trump was banned, he actually tweeted out from the other account, Hottest, on Twitter, and he said, "As I've been we've been saying for a long time, Twitter has gone further and further in banning free speech, and tonight, Twitter employees have coordinated with the Democrats and the radical left in removing my account from their platform to silence me. And you, the 75 million great patriots who voted for me, Twitter may be... He's assuming he got 75 million votes. I'm sorry. Alright, so, patriots who voted for me. Twitter may be a private company, but without the government's gift of Section 230, they would not exist for long. I predicted this would happen. We have been negotiating with various other sites and will have a big announcement soon, while we also look at the possibilities of building out our own platform in the near future. We will not be silenced. Twitter is not about free speech. They are all about promoting a radical left platform where some of the most vicious people in the world are allowed to speak freely. Stay tuned. So, my guess is he's going to endorse Parler. That's my guess.
Of course. Oh, Gap. But I got a message from Gap. I remember at Gap. And Torba sent a message out today saying, they got, 126% increase in traffic today. That was like pre-Purge, by the way. That was just like when some were removed. And Gap is going wild now, it seems. But they were asking for donations for server capacity, right?
Of course. Because again, all of these sites do not have a model for funding themselves. They did not think that through. They completely just disregarded that. And the thing is, you don't even have to fully disregard it. You just share the profits with the users, and when you do that, we're going to force all these other platforms to do that, because otherwise they're going to lose from competition.
Yeah.
I just think it's very interesting that when Trump got banned, he immediately used the other second account. Because they can't ban that account, the POTUS account. The POTUS account is the President of the United States account, so that's going to be passed on to Biden soon.
So someone Haza says Gap moved over to Mastodon, but I don't know the deeds. Did they really move over to Mastodon? Because I do know that they use an edited Mastodon script themselves. They have the open source script of Mastodon and they built their own Gap on that. I mean, it's pretty much the Mastodon script. There has a small edits in it.
Yeah. I don't know if Gab moved over to Mastodon. And here's the thing, like, the Mastodon UI, I looked at it, I hate it. Like, I believe I said this to you before. Like, I looked at it, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I dislike it very much.
Okay. Someone says Trump needs a segment on Infowars for entertainment value. Yeah, well, if they all get banned, you just go to like such channels. I mean, the thing is, the internet became too centralized at some point. And I mean, like, I'm no Trump supporter. I mean, I'm not even from the country, but you're at some point in time, you have to realize that a few big tech websites are running everything. Maybe it is just time to move on to other places too and just make these places a little bigger too. Make it more equalized. Have like 20 sites instead of 3 big sites. This is always Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Is there nothing else you can do? Just I actually embraced places like TikTok, even though they were completely controlled by like the Chinese or whatever. But you need more places. You need it decentralized again.
Well, yeah, you need it to be decentralized, but the thing is, most people don't want to move to another site. So how do you combat that? You combat that by allowing them to cross-post to all of their favorite existing sites and give them more value than they're getting from these other sites. In not only just in monetary value, but also, like by not selling their user data, allowing them to choose what data they want to share with advertisers, and then allowing them, if they so choose, to sell that data to advertisers and get a percentage. That's how you go forward with things, is by developing better systems, and but also still keeping the same old model of social media that everybody knows and is, for better lack of a word, addicted to. The like model, the retweet model, sharing model, whatever you want to call it. By keeping those same things and adding onto it is how you get people to go to another site. I think everything that's happened in the past couple years has pushed people to wanting to leave these big social media companies, but there's no real alternatives out there that have been formidable, like Gab. I used Gab for a little while, and then I realized how annoying the interface is. Minds, I hate their interface. It's absolutely ugly. Mastodon, ugly interface. So, I set out to help build something myself because I disliked the interface. I disliked so many things, and I just wanted to kind of help develop something myself because, the whole saying of if you can't trust people to do it yourself. That's kind of how I felt about it. But I mean, there's so much more that we can do with social media. It's just it's a matter of using your imagination.
Okay, so I was talking to someone about the feds and how they target actual people. This is a different subject. About surveillance, right?
Right.
Okay, so
And
I'm just asking if the person is listening. I wanted to explain some things. Okay, because some guy apparently said the new thing is that they are now targeting people through a cell phone. Now, I just want to say that this is as old as time. Like in 1995, we had already signal intelligence, right? I mean, targeting people through cell phones is older than targeting people through cables. Why? Because we had privacy laws coming from the Cold War era, especially here in Europe with the Stasi. Those are phone protection laws, but they only apply to cables. They don't apply to signals in the air. So the intelligence agencies started to snoop in on air signals first. So the signal intelligence is far older than cable intelligence. So yeah.
Yeah. The NSA also got caught doing it in the 60s, I think.
Yeah. This is super old. And phishing through
it was. I think it was called Operation Garden Plot. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it was called Operation Garden Plot.
Apparently, there's a guy who claims it. He is a privacy safe guy, and he says the new thing is targeting phones. Well, take it from actual security specialists. This is as old as time, and yeah. So, and phones, yeah, phishing through cell phones, yeah, that is also happening, but it is also super old. For the second, we talked about Android systems before. Android systems that is pretty much a different Linux version. Like if you root it, you get like a Linux, so you can use this. Windows phones were a thing too in the past.
They went out the window.
Yeah.
But Apple and Android took over. But okay. So I just wanted to clarify. Operation Garden Plot is actually a DoD civil disturbance plan. It's not what I was talking about. But anyway, they used the NSA. I forget what operation it was. I forget what the hell it was called. I said it the other week. But I have so much up in my brain. I can't for the life of me remember it all. But there's an operation. It was in the 1960s or 40s. Forget which, where the NSA got caught, and they were tapping phones, not cell phones, but phones. But anyway, it's not new.
No, it's not new at all. No. To be fair, phishing for phones can be. It might be done more now. I mean, now that more phones are using like higher power hardware, and they become more interesting for botnets or for mining, right? But Windows phones, for example, were a super nice target in the past, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, that's because Windows or Microsoft was working with the NSA hand in hand. They have an NSA key built into fucking Windows, for Christ's sakes. But anyway, it was called Project Shamrock. That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah. I see cross-growl Windows 95 runs through DOSBox on Android. Yeah, Windows 95, if you think about it, is so old already and takes so little usage. Now I remember like Windows CE and stuff, right? It was like it was fun to play with these things. It's all crap.
Oh yeah, you can run. You could run Android, an Android OS, and then run Windows on top of it. Like I used to do that. It was just like for fun. I mean, obviously you can't play a game or something on your phone, a Windows game on your phone. But it was just for fun. Just fuck around. But yeah, this whole thing about Echelon's type of capabilities. I mean, they've been hacking phones for years. I mean, cell phones after they were invented. I mean, come on. Oh, here's another program that I didn't even know existed until now. It's called Black Chamber. Black Chamber and Shamrock were U.S. intelligence operations after World War II, and they continued throughout the Cold War period. I didn't even know fucking Black Chamber. Like I have never. What the hell is Black Chamber? Have you ever heard of Black Chamber?
Black Chamber? No, what is this?
Mark?
No, what is this? That you mean but it's like super old, right?
Okay, so
This is a crypto stuff from like super old.
Apparently, in after
1919,
World War
I see. 1919. Sorry.
Yeah. I never even heard of it. Like, I didn't know what the fuck Black Chamber was. Apparently, it was a Army military intelligence program.
It is the predecessor of the NSA. It is like the later became the NSA. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea that was even a fucking thing.
The crypto. They analyze crypto and stuff. Yeah, well, in World War II, it became really important, right? The Germans did a lot with encrypted communications. They had a famous Enigma machine, and a lot of decryption was attempted against them to just predict where they would attack, because they would communicate long distance, and it was all encrypted, but it had to be decrypted by the so-called by the Allies, right? Yeah. And the Germans did the same, though.
Yeah, there was a case, if I remember correctly, in Nazi Germany where they intercepted a communication, and they showed up and they had kind of masked the other, like the real location. It was like fake location and a real location, and they actually did that through cryptography. And they would use, I can't remember what the hell the word is for it. It was like, they would use encrypted communication, but then they would encrypt a message within the message that they're sending. I can't remember the word for it, what I'm looking for, but it's like double encryption, basically. But they were smart.
Yeah.
And that might be the reason why we smuggled in at least 10,000 of them. And then the other remaining Nazi scientists and engineers and all of that, they went to Pine Gap in Australia, and then there's another. Who else got some of them? I think Britain did too, right?
Yeah, definitely. The Modema Rose says Enigma, Turing type coding. Yeah, there was a lot of actually a very interesting time for decryption. I mean, now it's all computer stuff, but back then it was like manual. You need really smart people to do it.
Yeah, it wasn't fully manual, but they would have a broadcast that they would broadcast over the airwaves, and it would be kind of distorted, and you would have to decrypt the broadcast to hear it. But then they would use double encryption through that, because they would have the first layer, and then the second layer would be like passphrases or whatever within the message, or like coded language. That's a better one. Coded language they would use. They would use coded language in addition to masking the broadcast.
Yeah. And Argentina is also interesting. If we want to go into the whole Nazi history. EMF signal to skull began in the late 50s, someone says.
Yeah, that's true.
You know more about that?
Yeah, the V2K is what was it? It was in the 60s, I think. But the EMF, the voice to skull technology, was actually like they were experimenting with it in the in the early 40s, or I'm sorry, late 40s, early 50s. I do actually know about that because I had a source tell me about like all the operations that the I think it was OSS or OSI. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, they ran like various different experiments, like kind of like experimenting with people's brains and electrodes and stuff like that. And one of them was Project Concussion. They had all types of different programs back then when they were doing that, but that shifted into the CIA and MK Ultra, and MK Ultra took it a step further with experiments using shocking people's brains with electrodes, and they were trying to implant thoughts and all types of other shit that was going on, and they were trying to sleep deprive people to implant thoughts into people using various different chemicals on people. The list goes on, but yeah, they first started the whole voice to skull technology with electrodes and stuff like that. It was in the late 1940s, early 1950s, and it was either under the OSI or OSS. I can't remember what it was, but basically it was the precursor to the whole CIA MK Ultra experiments and everything, and the Navy was actually the ones that were doing all these experiments before the CIA was. So the U.S. had a interest in mind control technology and stuff like that after they had brought people over from Nazi Germany, from Operation Paperclip, and they did other experiments, subliminal experiments that they did on the American public, and everybody knows about Werner von Braun, who built the very first rocket ship for NASA. So I mean, they had all these different minds that they brought over from Nazi Germany working on various different projects, and the reason being that we had so much like unethical projects going on in the U.S. is because they brought over the Nazi scientists to continue their research that they were doing. Hitler himself was very interested in subliminals and mind control technology and psychics and all types of other shit. People don't know that, but Hitler was very occultic. And the Nazi SS, they actually worshipped what they called the Black Sun God. And Hitler had talked to, I think it was Maria Ostrich, however you say her name. You know who I'm talking about, Mark?
Yeah, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Maria Ostrich, actually, I think.
Whatever the fuck her name, I can't remember. Like, she was an occult person, and Hitler had a meeting with her, and the whole Nazi Germany thing that was going on back then. They had beliefs.
A lot of Yugoslavia.
Yeah, right.
Actually, it's Maria Orsic, I think.
Orsic, yeah, her. But anyway, yeah. So they believed in like the Vril Society and the Thule Society, and the Nazi SS were worshiping what they called the Black Sun God. And we brought some of those crazy people over here to the U.S. to work on various different science experiments and stuff like that, and work on our rocket ships and everything. And the Nazis were actually working on rocket ships too, and we don't know whether or not, like, everybody says, oh, well, that's crazy that the people think that the Nazis might have went to the moon. Is it really, though? Because, they were working on rocket ships too, and we don't know whether or not they actually had a flying rocket ship or not. We have no idea. You know why we don't have any idea? Because that type of information would be classified.
Yeah.
So it's not that crazy it could have happened. I mean, especially since Werner von Braun, when he came over to the U.S., he's the one who helped build a rocket ship. Why specifically would they target Werner von Braun unless he had success? You know, like, you ever think of that? Like,
Von Braun designed the V2 rockets, and they pretty much bombed London to the ground with V2 rockets. I mean, they launched pretty close from here. I mean, there are still these installations, are still memorials to that. So there are still memorials from where the V2 rockets were launched from, and they were like bombed on London. But they had more designs. They had spacecraft designs going up to like Mach 8 or something, and they were used like flying bombs, and they had a dirty bomb to dump on New York, like filled with radioactive material. I mean, the people were pretty far ahead. And yeah, so in the chat says from Paperclip to Monarch, Phoenix, no clue how it's called. No, they kept Mengele alive for good reasons, even allowing him to travel freely. Yeah, Joseph Mengele, the Angel of Death, he was the one who did tests on medical subjects, on twins and stuff, for genetic testing for like twins and what the effects were of certain medicines and stuff. And they also took away, this is very disturbing, but they took out like the organs of concentration camp prisoners, and they tried to replace them with like metallic organs, like mechanical organs and stuff.
They did chemical experiments on people. They did all sorts of shit. They did exactly what, like, similar to what the MK Ultra experiments were doing. They were experimenting on people to see if they could give them cancer, all types of shit, like fucking crazy. I just find it interesting that he was known as the Angel of Death, and that they had such a strong occultic beliefs system, and the higher-ranking members of the Nazi SS were all involved in the worship of who they called the Black Sun God, which a lot of people don't even know even took place in our entire history. It's like, you know, people think I'm making that up and that never happened, and it's like, no, that literally did fucking happen. There's a whole thing about how Hitler was obsessed with the Thrill and Fuel Society, or Vril and Fool Society, and how the Nazi SS were also obsessed with the occult, and it's crazy. Hitler also tried to find the Spear Longinus.
That's the Spear of Destiny, right?
Yeah. And the crystal skulls and some other artifact. I can't remember what the other one is, but anyway, he tried to find all these artifacts. He was very obsessed with the occult. That's what I'm trying to put out there. He believed that it had mythical power, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, and the Nazis were in Tibet looking for the underworld. Now, you can argue why it was, why these people did this. For one is, like, were they really convinced of it? But there's also theories that say, like, when they were losing the war or knew they were losing the war, they were just trying desperate measures. So they became desperate and they tried to search for every possible solution to find certain technology that could help them to find, also like an underworld to hide in, right? And to such things. That's it. You can have both theories. Like, you can unleash this theory, like, yeah, okay, we're really interested in this whole occult thing, and we really believe this, and there's something to say for that. You have the Thule Society and Vril Society and these things. but you also have the or historical theory that when an army is losing the war and you have such a big reach that you have these people surrounding you that offer you these solutions like magic, right? And ancient theories where you might find the alien theories and the underworld theories, all these things. You search for everything. Sorry guys, seems Discord dropped out again. So, just loading it again. Sorry. Seems AK also has an issue with Discord. Okay, it seems AK also has an issue. We'll do it. We'll continue about this tomorrow, guys. It's fine. We're planning to do weekend shows anyway again, and there's too much to talk about anyway. So I'm going to ask you guys just to share it around. We at the start of the episode we've been talking a lot about the censorship going on, the partisan censorship. We obviously don't support that. Whatever you think of certain politicians, people are free to support whatever they want, and that's their democratic right in that sense. They can vote for whatever they want. Yeah, guys, we'll just be back tomorrow. Don't worry about it. I see a lot of new people in it, and you won't be disappointed. We'll get a new team up for tomorrow. Just share it around, and thanks for listening.